What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Swisher coming back at you, you know what I'm saying, with another Texans talk. Don't really have to talk about yesterday. Everybody saw it. So what I am going to talk about is what Bill O'Brien should be doing in the future. And personally, looking at our roster and what we have, it's too much talent on this roster not to be competitive offensively. But let's talk about why this offense doesn't work and why it works in New England. You see, Bill Belichick, he said, okay, I don't necessarily need dominating receivers. I just need you to be able to run smooth, crisp routes and just to have, just to be able to get separation. That's it. That's all he asks of his receivers. Now, and this part right here is definitely what makes New England's offense work. Look at their tight end situation. Call it what you want, say what you want, but their tight ends is what make their offense so deadly. And I mean, they can hit you in the short field, the mid range, and then Brady can go over the top. It's not a hard formula, man. It's not. Then while you're so busy trying to cover those guys downfield, they'll easily slip a running back screen, or I haven't seen them run too many wide receiver screens, but yeah, they'll hit that running back screen real quick. Now let's flip the page to Houston and let's talk about why Houston's offense isn't working. See, Bill O'Brien, I get the philosophy, but unless you go and get you some dominating tight ends, and I'm going to talk about who I want here in just a second, but if you don't go out and get those guys, this offense will never take off. Plain and simple. Bill O'Brien, this will lead to Bill O'Brien and his entire staff getting fired. When it comes down to it, you got to be able to. Hold on real quick, y'all. Hey, turn it down a little bit.
Turn it down?
Yes. Sorry about that, guys. But with Bill O'Brien, he basically went out and the team already had receivers. Well, a receiver. Let me rephrase that. A receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, and he kind of molded the roster the way, the receiver core the way he wanted to afterwards. Of course, going out and getting Jalen Strong and Will Fuller and Braxton Miller. I don't have a problem with that. Not at all. Not one bit. But what I do have a problem with is you go out and you bypass playmakers, and you do it on a consistent basis every year. I don't get that. And that part I blame on Rick Smith. But when you look at what we do here in Houston, we try to get the receivers involved, and defenses can game plan and match that. I don't care what system or scheme you're running. If you have a dominating tight end, it is hard to game plan against them. If you have, say, a one and the other guy is just a role player, it's still hard to stop. But that's that part. Now, let's talk about what Houston should be doing going forward. Now, again, I personally don't. how can I put this? You know what? Fuck it. This will, in these moves here that would be getting ready to be made, if I was the coach, certain guys are about to get their toes stepped on because we got to find a way to produce. CJ Fedorowicz, let's start there. We all know that he's a good blocking tight end and he has some receiving skills. Okay. Now, with that being said, I would move him to fullback, and this is what I mean by it would come at the expense of stepping on someone's toes. Jay Prosh. Yes, I'm sorry, but that's what would happen. Now, reason why I would move him to fullback, CJ to fullback, is for those who have never played tight end, and I can't really speak on it because I've never played the position either, but I've studied it enough to know that it's when you're on the line, when you're an inline tight end, it comes, in order to do your job successfully, it comes down to two things. Leg strength. Well, I'm not going to say leg strength. It comes down to good blocking and overall strength. Now, CJ has decent strength for a tight end and decent speed, I might add. But it just I don't like seeing him have to, block defensive ends and whatnot. That's not cutting it. Now, reason why I say let's move him to fullback, because now you have an extra weapon schematically. Keyword, schematically. Remember that word. Now, when you're able to beat somebody schematically, that translates to being able to beat them mentally, which translates to being able to beat them physically. It's not hard. It's not a hard formula. I'm 24 years old, and I know this. Now, true enough, I do play a lot of Madden, but fuck it, shit. Football is football, regardless of how you look at it. I'm positive, you know what I'm saying? Bill Belichick looks at this the same way. It doesn't matter how you gain the knowledge or how you do it, as long as it's productive. Call it what you want. Now, with that being said, I would move CJ to fullback due to the simple fact that he's a bigger blocker than Jay Prosh, bigger body, bigger frame, and can move faster, I might add. So he's going to be able to get to the point of attack a lot faster than Jay Prosh would. Also, I like CJ's odds of being able to, get out on the move and, actually be running towards a target versus just being an inline tight end trying to hold up at the point of attack. Now, the second thing that I would do after moving CJ to fullback, I'm going and I'm trading for Jesse James. Now, I believe he was a 5th or 6th round pick, if I'm not mistaken. Seeing as how we wasted a 4th round pick on Tyler Ervin, and I'm not saying it's a wasted pick yet, but generally, and this is just, I'm not talking about, the Bill O'Brien era. None of our 4th round picks really pan out. Sam Montgomery, 4th round pick. I think he was a 3rd round pick, if I'm not mistaken. It's a couple other guys, man, but they just do not work out. So what do? I would give up a 4th round pick to bring in Jesse James. Now, for those who don't know who Jesse James is, go look him up. He plays in Pittsburgh. He's 6'7", 261. 261 pounds. That is a lot of fucking man. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what helps Brady out? Gronk's huge catch radius? I thought so. Now, Jesse James he's a much taller, in my opinion, he's not as strong as CJ Fedorowicz, but when it comes down to being a receiving threat, he has a lot more to offer and more potential. Hold on. Before I go into Jesse James and whatnot, let me go back to CJ real quick. And another reason why it would be effective to move him to fullback. Not only can he get out and run towards, making a block, but now defense, like when you go into those, those play action plays, guess who can leak out and somebody has to cover him? That's an extra lane right there to where if Brock is smart enough and he sees it, if everybody else is covered, just take off and run for 5 yards. It's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna kill you. Your legs may be a little sore, but overall you're moving the chains. You're moving forward. You're gaining positive yards. The Carolina Panthers last year was a dominating force of what I'm talking. Well, I'm not saying dominating force, a dominating example of what I'm talking about. It was so hard to stop them because they could schematically beat you everywhere. They had a big time target in Devin Funchess. Of course, Ted Ginn was the speedster. Greg Olsen was the big tight end. And when if all of that was covered, guess what? Guess what other option you had? You could now run the ball with Cam. It's not a hard formula. Back to my boy Jesse James. Now, with that being said, he definitely gives you that chunk play tight end. He can go and make those contested catches. If a safety if he does, run past, or even if he is manned up with a linebacker, I'll take that chance. How many linebackers are in the league that are 6'5" and taller? Brian Urlacher was the last one. You know what I mean? Of course, you have a few in the league, and Bernard McKinney is one of them. And he does play for the Houston Texans, by the way. But it's odd. I'm not gonna say it's odd or rare, but not many teams have a bunch of 6'4" and 6'5" linebackers. Most of them are 6'3", 6'2", and all that other good shit. And again, instant matchup problem. And this is what you have to be able to exploit on a regular basis. This is why New England is so good. This is why when Peyton broke the record and whatnot, even though they went on to get killed in the Super Bowl, this is why they was able to, do so much on offense. Now, the third and final piece to this whole puzzle, and this would complete the offense and be able to this would allow Bill O'Brien to be able to run our offense like New England runs theirs. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like the same things and whatnot. I'm talking about from a play calling and personnel wise. Going out and making those two moves, they allow you to do a lot more than what we've been able to do so far. My last one, and I'm coming up on 15 minutes, and it would definitely be going out to get O.J. Howard, and that's what's understood don't really need to be explained on that. But as always, shout out to my boy Ray Ray, shout out to my boy LaFlame, and like, sub, and peace, y'all.